Today, I got to talk with one of America's top psychics. We discussed auras, chakras, how to empower your intuition, and his new book coming out with Hay House. Check it out. Hey guys, today I am so excited to interview psychic Dougall Fraser. He is also a cosmic coach and an author. Dougall grew up and early on he knew that he had this ability to kind of feel people's stresses, their secrets, he understood their desires, and he knew he saw the world differently. He did his first psychic reading at 8 years old and continued doing consultations for adults all through grade school. At 20 years old, he was named Dallas's top psychic, and then 13 years later was known internationally around the world for different media outlets. He has celebrity clients, he has CEOs, he talks to people just like me and you, and he believes that we all have a blueprint, and his goal is to help us access it and attain that dream. He's been on multiple TV shows. He's been on The Real Housewives of the OC. He's been on the OWN Network, Good Day LA. I mean, multiple shows. That's just a little snippet. He's also the author of But You Knew That Already, What a Psychic Can Teach You About Life, and his forthcoming book, Your Life in Color with Hay House, that comes out April 25th. I am so excited to talk to Dougall.
Thank you, Candace. I'm excited to talk to you too.
Yay. There is so much I want to cover in this interview. You are amazing. We met months ago at the Pearl Exchange, and I remember just meeting you and your husband and being like, what is this energy around that? It was crazy to talk to you. So can we talk about the energy around people, the colors around our souls? Really, what is it and how do we see it?
Yeah. So my parents used to say that by the time I was standing in the crib, I would talk about seeing color around people and hearing voices. And I think for me in the beginning, I have some family members that have some mental illness. And I was trying to sort of tune into what was going on in the room. It was also sort of a survival thing for me. I'm a sexual abuse survivor, so I wanted to make sure that an environment was safe. So it was very important to me as a child to be able to read the energy behind what someone was saying to see what was going on. I also wanted to be out of my body. There was a lot of pain in my childhood. My parents had a failing marriage. My sister at the time had cancer. She's now a cancer survivor. But there was a lot going on. And so the idea of energy, of meditation, of crystals, of tarot cards, of being able to leave my body, astral travel, that was super seductive to me. I didn't want to feel what was going on with me, and it was way more fun to feel what was going on with someone else. And so that's what sort of launched it for me.
I feel like there's so many similarities with us already. You know how you find someone in your soul tribe, you're like, duh. Like there's similar experiences, there's similar paths to get there. And it's interesting what you said about almost having to wake up to your gift early because of the contrast in your environment of knowing I need to feel where safety is because I don't really trust what I'm seeing. I feel like a lot of highly sensitive people wake up early because of that trait, because of that reason. I know same thing for me where it was, not a troubled childhood, but parents divorced. It was a lot of energy and emotion in the environment. And as empaths, you're a sponge, you're feeling it all. And you're like, how do I understand this energy?
Totally.
Yeah. So you started seeing color when you were in the crib.
Yeah. So there's two ways to sort of look at that. I believe that I'm seeing the aura and I believe that I'm seeing energy immediately. And I was really lucky to have a mom that also believed that and encouraged me to look into that and was buying crystals and calling her channel and all of that good stuff. My dad immediately sent me to therapy, which at the time I was annoyed, but it also created this balance for me that I started to look at it from a scientific perspective. So a doctor thinks that I have synesthesia. And synesthesia is when two senses in the brain overlap. Do you have synesthesia?
Yes. I don't think I have it, but I know all about it.
Right. So I became fascinated by it because it's sort of an interesting way because, sometimes people project at me and they're like, you're not seeing an aura, you're making it up. And it's like, why would I make that up as a child? Like, why on earth would I do that as a child? It's just how I see energy. So the truth is, in my journey, I used to be angry at my dad. Why'd you send me to therapy? There was nothing wrong with me. But it also gave me a very balanced approach. I got a lot of attention for being an empath and being a psychic and being perceived as gifted. And in high school and in my teenage years, I ran with that. Like, I really loved it. And now I've evolved into, I don't know if it's a gift. This is an ability we all have. And I want to encourage people to perceive energy however they do. I happen to see color. Some people feel, some people hear, some people taste, and it's all good.
This is incredible because I had a very similar story as well, but it was the opposite, where my dad was kind of more spiritual. My mom was the school teacher who was like, what's wrong with her? Let's bring her to a psychiatrist.
Right.
And so I was seeing colors and energies, and I would have premonitions at an early age of people dying and then they die, or people, very strange things, strange. And so my mom's like, what is up with her? And instead of saying gifted, they said, oh, you have ADHD, you're focused on other things. It's
really? Wow.
It's a label. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, I just got chills when I said that. For me, it was this fight to own the gift that I knew that I had, even though I was told that it was something wrong and different. You should shh about it. Yeah. But I still, like you, knew that it was helping me in life because I would walk in a room and know exactly who I should and shouldn't talk to, know exactly what someone was going through. It was almost like this, I know what's happening with you. Why do I know that? So it wasn't really, it wasn't seeing, it was more the feeling that started really coming for me of, oh, I get the deep reasons of why you're exactly where you are. Very strange stuff, but like helped me so much in life.
Well, one of the things I remember profoundly is I sort of had this dual personality in high school where I would go to school and I was the class clown and I would tear teachers apart because I, as the gay, overweight kid in high school carrying tarot cards, I'm not terribly popular. So anything I could do to take the attention away from me was important. So the class clown was my way to do it. But then at night, I worked in a New Age bookstore and went to meditation classes. And oftentimes, my first memories of seeing an aura would be that I would make fun of a teacher, but then I would see her reaction energetically. And so she'd be stern with me because that was her job, but her soul was clearly hurt. I had struck a nerve. And it helped me not only figure out other people's energy, but then to be responsible of my own. How I treat people. What do I want to bring to the planet? Do I want to hurt people or do I want to uplift them? And it was this like really cool, like crash study course in what our thoughts and our words and our vibration, how it affects a room, and teaching me to be responsible for who I am and what kind of energy that I want to present.
That makes so much sense because when you find out you have this gift, you know you have a responsibility. And when you experience that by seeing her vibration, you were like, oh shoot, like I've got to be good about this.
Exactly. And I have a choice. And that was a little bit spooky. We can go in a direction of manipulation and using it for power and attention. And that was tempting. I was getting attention for it, but it didn't sit right in my being. Like when I was 18, I worked for the Psychic Friends Network. What? Extension 4257.
I love that.
And I remember I really believed in the network and I believed in everything they said. But once I started working for them and I saw what was going on behind it and how people were giving their power away, I realized if I'm really going to go in this direction, I have to be as mindful as possible and as honorable and true to my core because this is serious stuff.
Okay, this is my favorite part of the day because honestly, people don't talk about integrity in this business and integrity in life. And I feel like when I started really honing my gifts, and I'm still doing that, and really trying to figure out, the bigger picture, I realized that integrity is the number one quality you must have to do this work. And if you're working with people that are out of integrity, your soul is not going to let you do it because this work is beyond you. And
Totally.
I know your experiences with that because I've had so many experiences coming from the acting and modeling world where I literally didn't know why I had to quit. I didn't know why I couldn't be there. It looked so amazing and flashy. Why can't I go? Am I self-sabotaging? No, it's not in alignment with my goal. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I have been on a set before with a show that I was doing, and a producer came up to me and said, so the next person's going to stand up and they're in a relationship with a significant age difference. So why don't you just say to her, why do I see a significant age difference?
I love it.
Right? And I was like, Now, mind you, this is millions of dollars are being spent. Hundreds of people have a job. And there's the people pleaser in me was like, maybe I should just say that to get the shoot done and move forward. But I went into my core and I was like, excuse me, but I don't give a crap. Like, I'm not going to do that. I said, don't you ever say that to me again. I'd rather give a terrible reading and be wrong than be fed the information. And so I've had moments where it's not that I think the universe tests us, but I do think they're observing how we respond to an opportunity. Yeah. And here was an opportunity that would have been so easy. It's like eating the brownie over the smoothie. Like, it would have been so much easier, but I want to go for the nutrients. I want to go for what's authentic. I want to go for what's clear. And to this day, Candace, that's something I still manage. We don't let clients come more than once a year. And yet sometimes they're begging for it and they'll try to book an appointment, but that's not what I want. I don't want to breed dependency. I want you to find your own intuition. And this is terrible for business, but the truth is the best psychic reading you're ever going to get is from yourself. It's just the truth. And I can't walk away from that. Someday, my goal is to just teach about intuition versus making predictions and counseling people. And that's sort of the leap that I'm working on right now.
Oh my gosh. I knew when I woke up this morning, this was going to be incredible. And this is why. Everything we've said is everything that's been on my heart for so long as well. And what you just said about, the universe not testing you, but kind of watching and observing your response. I feel like it happens all the time to me, where it's like, are you ready for the next thing? Or do you want the quick thing that's not in alignment? Because then you can continue to not be in alignment. Or do you want maybe something that doesn't look as easy or doesn't look as big yet, but it's in such alignment that you feel such joy? And
exactly.
About empowering intuition is something I'm super, super passionate about, because I know that so many people out there are looking for an external authority to give them all the answers. And that is what's creating suffering and being stuck and not hearing your own gift, not hearing your own ability. And I really want to talk about that too, because I know you're huge about teaching people how to be their own psychic, how to be their own sort of, I call it the wise guide inside.
Yeah.
And wake up to that. That's when you start having alignment, not when you're like, oh, let me call all these people to see if they all agree. They're not going to. They're going to give you information based on their intuition. Can you tell us how to really awaken our own abilities more?
So it's the most boring answer on the planet. And I always want to make it sparkly and talk about all the ways. And there are sparkly ways to get there. The fundamental basic for me is meditation.
Yes.
Our brains spend the day, getting us to interviews on time and lunch with friends and paying the mortgage and, breathing and our body function. That's the brain's job and responsibility. The brain also protects us from fear, so we don't touch a hot stove and burn ourselves, or we don't walk into traffic. The brain is a powerful tool. However,
by the way,
however, the brain will block us from intuition. So meditation is my ability to still the mind so I can perceive what's going on energetically. And it's little moments. Do you remember? So yesterday, I sat down and you popped into my mind. And I was like, I'm just going to connect with her first. And I was typing the email and I was like, I really, really like her. And then I'm totally focused. I click send and immediately an email pops up and it's from you. Now, I thought I made a mistake. I thought maybe I clicked it to myself and not to your, because it was so immediate. But those are the moments that when we pause and we get still and I see that manifestation where I know I'm on the right track. It's not like a beam of light comes out of the sky and they're like, call Candace now. I wish it were.
I love that example because yes, it happened to us yesterday. Right now when it's 11:11, we're talking about it. It's all so connected. And it was so funny yesterday when that happened because I just thought, oh, you popped into my head, same thing. And I was really focused on the interview and I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to give him the details right now. And in that 1 second, I looked at my inbox and there was a note for you exactly the same second. Look at your email. It's the same second that we push send.
I know.
We got the message from each other. I mean, that was total alignment and confirmation to me. I was like, haha, universe is laughing and smiling.
and you cannot make that stuff up. That's the thing. Like, when energy comes together, you don't have to wonder. Like it's too fast. It's too literal. And people always say, well, how do I know if I'm getting a psychic impression? Because I think people's concepts of what a psychic impression looks like sometimes are a little bit distorted. In my opinion, what we had yesterday, that's a psychic impression. That's a connection right there. And I love it.
I love it. Well, I love what you just said about how do you know if it's a psychic impression? Because this is something I dealt with when I was kind of waking up to my gifts. I was in high school and I had, an out-of-body experience and a severe download, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I remember thinking, whoa, at that moment, I was given a lot of big decisions to make.
Yeah.
I thought, why am I being tested? I'm just figuring this out. And what I noticed as I got older and been doing this work more and more is if it's that big of a question, the answer is no.
Right. I agree.
Be like, so obvious. And if it's not obvious and you really want it to be obvious, what is it you need in that moment that you're trying to create? Because psychic stuff and authentic connections and alignment and things like this, there's no question. You can't deny this kind of stuff. And so when you do readings and you're telling people stuff based on their energy and they're having aha moment after aha moment, those are things there's no doubt around. There's no resistance.
Correct. Yeah. And that's why I called my first book, But You Knew That Already, is I'm confirming something in you were already aware of. Mm-hmm. Very rarely am I pulling something out of thin air that someone hasn't thought about, or it's completely out of the blue. It's that inner knowing, that hunch, that desire that you've had for a long time. But I sort of have this split in my brain. Like when I met my husband, I opened the door and the first thing I heard in my head is, you will marry him. And then the second thing I heard in my head is, have I had too much to drink? Like I did immediately doubt it.
Yeah. So what do you think that is?
So I think that's the brain responding to a spiritual moment. And what I did was, and this is what I do with my soul group, is I paid attention to it. And after we had our date, it wasn't really a date, it was more of a hookup, but that might be getting too personal. But after we had our date, I went.
Okay.
It's true. I went and had brunch with my friend the next day, someone that I really trust. And I said, Meredith, I met this guy last night and this is what I heard in my head. And she said, well, don't tell him that because you're going to scare him. But I kept journaling about it. Like, this is the psychic impression. And then what I manage energetically is my brain's fear over a divine opportunity. But I keep sticking to, there's something here. I'm going to behave differently with this person. I'm going to be more authentic with this person. I'm going to test the psychic impression and see what happens. And this summer, it's been 10 years now that we've been married together for 15 years. So it was right, but I got scared. Yeah. Sometimes when the universe says, here's your window of opportunity for being in your power, we contract energetically. And that's normal. That's okay.
But having the courage to trust anyway.
Exactly.
You said, you know what, but I was going to be more authentic and more open. What most people do, myself included, back in the day, is I would have that impression like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Everything, like bells are going off. And then you're like, wait a minute though, because we haven't been taught that that's how things work. We haven't been taught that it's safe to follow your heart. We've been taught that being who you truly are and wanting exactly what you want is probably too good to be true.
Right.
So fear, that mind, you're right. It comes in and it's like, sister. And so often that's happened to me and I believed it and then I've really suffered. And then there are times in the last 5 years, I think I've gotten pretty good at it, where I'll see that doubt come in and I'm like, I think my truth is more powerful than that. Let me just be vulnerable. Yeah. Let me just risk it. What am I risking?
Risking it is such a huge part of it. And because even when I do a reading one-on-one with something, part of my brain will say, don't step out of your comfort zone and say that, because what if you're wrong? Or if I'm in a public forum and I'm in front of a huge audience, it's, you had mentioned I did something for the OWN network and I was so nervous that it was being recorded, and I saved my readings all the way to like the last 4 minutes of my talk because I was so scared. And then at some point I have to make a choice and say, I'm going to choose for the dominant voice to trust my intuition. And we did great readings and it was awesome. Mind you, some of them went like semi-viral and I got some hostile comments. But exactly, it makes people think. And I was proud of myself for that day for getting out of the way. And so much of it is about getting out of the way. But what I want people to know, even though I've done this for a living, I've been doing this for so long, I teach it every single day. My brain will say, don't make a prediction. What if you're wrong? I just choose for the dominant voice to be, I trust my soul. I trust my guidance. More importantly, I trust the universe.
Okay, this is so important. And it is so important because a lot of people, the old spiritual paradigm is, oh, now you're a psychic and you're a professional and you're famous for this. It's got to be right all the time. All the fear is gone. When I get to this level, the fear will be gone. The doubt will be gone. What you say is what I hope everyone takes in today, because I have the same thing. Everyone I know has it. No matter how big you are or how sure you are, how right you are most of the time, that little voice is always there. But it's you choosing to not trust it. It's you choosing your truth. And I think that's the most important thing, is it's always a choice. And going back to what you said at the beginning is, I knew I was in a place of choosing. That was scary. That was powerful. I had to choose to use my power in a good way, or my gift in a good way. If we don't choose in every moment for that light, we're going to suffer. But the thing is, we don't have to beat ourselves up about it. We can say, oh, that's part of being human. Yeah, Dougall, I have to say, I've watched a lot of your shows and you're right all the time. So you must be choosing that light.
Well, I mean, I said Hillary Clinton would be president. You know, I've made mistakes.
Well, that's okay.
I mean, the truth is, I don't think any psychic out there can be 100% accurate. And, you know, I see people claim things like, I'm 99.9. And I'm like, where did you come up with that? What we're dealing with is energy. And it's almost like if you and I were like underwater in a pool and we're trying to have a conversation, I can capture some of the words. I can see your body movement, your facial expression based on what you want to tell me. But what's going on between you, the universe, and God, that's personal, that's intimate. You're the only one who can read that book. And I always say, as a psychic, I feel like I'm being handed like the story of your life, and I have a chance to read like the jacket and like maybe flip open a 1 or 2 pages and get the ideas. But the true story, that's between you and the universe. The only person that can read that is you.
Do you think it's interesting how sometimes I watched this I think it was your radio show last week when you were talking about the soul family, the soul group, and how sometimes those soul groups can show up and be like, oh my gosh, amazing. But then you break up, or then you can't be friends, and then right away. And I've had some of that in my life for sure. And what I feel like sometimes, tell me if I'm wrong, it seems like sometimes our soul group comes in to almost make us own a part of ourselves that we wouldn't have done if we didn't feel that contrast.
For sure.
Yeah, right? So it doesn't always have to be the perfect friendship, the perfect relationship. I mean, sometimes it's for a lesson.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hear soulmate, soul group member as I don't have to work and that I don't have to own anything and everything's going to be okay. And oftentimes a soul group member will trigger us because it's the opportunity to be our best self. Mm-hmm. And when someone really sees us to our core, they're seeing the light side, they're seeing the shadow side. And this is sort of very simply how I manage soul group relationships in my life. I don't care if we have a disagreement, if we don't understand each other, if there's a challenge, as long as we can talk about it. And as long as that person is owning their stuff. I'm so not perfect. I can be grumpy. I can want everyone to be early because I like to be on time. I mean, I have flaws. Yeah. And as long as we can manage them together, that's what I'm looking for. When I go deep with someone, and my husband's always joking with me at a dinner party, he's like, don't ask questions that are going to like make people cry. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like I like to go deep. And if you don't want to go deep, like, and I mean like really deep, not, there's like faux deep, but I mean like just connecting and being real. And sometimes that can turn people off. So soul group relationships will fall away, and that's cool and it's okay, but it's that opportunity to be our best self, and that's okay. And that's what I'm looking for in all relationships in my life.
Authenticity, baby. I swear I'm the same. I cannot be close friends with someone without knowing it's unconditional on a certain level, where it's not about judgment. It's not about what you said wrong. It's not about, as highly sensitive people, it's almost like you already have that like antenna up of, all the time. So for me, it's translated into, I can relax with my people because I know people know all my parts and they're like, we dig you. Right. That's what I think a soul family is, or a soul group. But I want to ask you about your readings. I want to ask you, I've heard you say that you can hear someone's voice and see their color. Yeah. Is that the most, let's say, regular way that happens for you? Or do you look at them and know their color? Or what's the easiest way that you read people?
So the easiest thing for me is to hear the sound of someone's voice. Like every time you talk, I see orange and light purple above your head. And I will physically see it as I'm looking at the screen, but it only is when you talk. I have to hear someone's voice. So my sort of spiritual definition of that is the voice is like our vibration. We're this energy that's vibrating. And so when I hear the voice, I'm super sensitive to that. So a lot of times in a session, I'll ask people to repeat their name. If they're asking about a family member, I'll say that name again, because your energy will change. Yeah. If people are, if I do like a Facebook Live and people are typing, I actually can't see energy in that moment. I have to hear the sound of someone's voice. One of the reasons I love doing phone sessions, I do most of my work unless I'm traveling to another city, is I'm a human being. So I'm going to look at your body language and what you're wearing. Over the phone, it's a completely blank slate. All you say is your first name 3 times. Then I ramble for about 15 or 20 minutes. I ask people not to say anything because I just want to see what I get from your energy before I know anything. If I know anything, my judgment is clouded and it's harder for me to separate.
That's awesome. That makes so much sense and you think about the voice as like your truth.
Exactly.
Your true vibration coming out. So you don't have anything kind of swaying. It makes so much sense. And when you can really see that energy, that is freaking phenomenal. I know I love doing things when people call in and do Q&As. It's easier for me than anything because it's like an instant click. There's nothing in the way. I'm very sure of what I'm saying. I'm very sure of what I'm feeling. But I've seen you do it, and it's like unreal. We're immediately like, oh, there's thing coming out, and this is what that means. I'm like, what? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So with
that took a long, in the beginning, it was like, I see blue around you. That'll be $10. Thanks so much. Like, I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah. And then you have to really do your due diligence and really learn, what does this stuff mean? And then how does it kind of mean for you?
Yeah. And so it's funny you talk about that, because we talked about like old paradigms with spiritual teachers. I used to get, not in trouble, but a lot of flack for having different definitions. And most people are used to the traditional chakra definition, Sanskrit chakra definitions, which are powerful and is like a total sacred body of work. I think it's really important for us to make spirituality our own. And the universe sort of created a language for me through color, which was different. And I used to be really insecure about it. And people would be like, your color definitions are so different. And I had the opportunity to give myself permission to say, these are my definitions. And if they work for you, that's awesome. And you can blend them with other stuff. And I really want you to make it your own. And then in the book, we did some scientific research there are some studies that actually support some of my definitions, which was super cool. And my husband's idea, because he's very practical in that way. And I never would have thought of that. But if you're reading cards or oracle cards, it's fun to look at the definition in the book, but then remember that the universe wants to speak to you directly and not necessarily through the book. We are allowed to have our own language and our own understanding, and that's okay.
Amen. I feel like there's a huge sort of wave of people, I call them indigos or highly sensitive people, whatever, who are coming in to change the old paradigms and create new. And it's really just what you said. It's all about owning your authority. You're author of your new way. And I think it's so hard to kind of break it down, but most of us have been we kind of come in with this warrior kind of thing anyway, where it's like, well, I can't not say what's true for me. Like you said, I can't do this show and not be honest about it. This is how I think we're redefining it. And I think you're so right. It's like when you give yourself that permission to hear what you're hearing and not have to compare it to what someone thinks you should be hearing, or this is what's true for you. And this is how your stuff keeps evolving. And this is how you keep growing. I want to ask you, because you said you saw orange and violet around me.
Purple, yeah.
Purple? What does it mean?
So orange is considered the color of balance and perception. It's the combination of psychology and spirituality. I'll see it around counselors, psychologists. It's highly empathetic people. But if you have orange around you, you've reached your balance. If someone leans more towards red, they're getting drained energetically and emotionally. Orange is a really balanced space. The purple above you represents leadership. I see purple around heads of state, CEOs of a company. If someone's like the carpool leader, like it's someone who's in a leadership position. But what I love about purple is purple people don't lead from ego. Do you know who Alan Cohen is? He's a spiritual author. He's one of my favorite authors. He's a friend of mine. He's amazing. He's a perfect example of a purple person. Alan is just like the best. And so a purple person does not lead from ego. They want to encourage other people, but purple people think globally. They don't want to just think in their backyard. They want to know what's going on with the planet. They think big picture. So that's part of what I see when you talk.
That's amazing. I feel like that is so accurate. And I just went through this interesting period about a month ago where I was sick. I was doing a show, and since it started, it was 5 weeks, I was sick the entire time. And I was like, Candace, your body does not lie. It was an emotional imbalance for me. It wasn't.
Oh, this was the radio show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As I quit that show, literally, it was instant miraculous healing. I was sick for 5 weeks. I'm like, I can't do the show. Immediately I'm well and I'm feeling amazing. And I'm like, that is so strange to me. But I knew on some other level, it was about me doing me. And I needed to have that energy honed in. I needed to not give it out so much. And it was so obvious. And I feel like so many people need to listen to that more, of that balance emotionally and energetically, and just feeling that sort of feeling dimension of what does my body need? What is my body saying?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I always say to people with orange that your body is so sensitive that little things will happen. If you're in the wrong environment, you will have a quick dizzy spell. You will start to feel uncentered. And orange people are so sensitive that they have to be in a balanced environment, or else they become foggy and they can't make decisions. And it's like, it's so fast for your body to get your attention. You know what I mean? And so bravo for you for listening to that and then noticing the difference. This feels like a very wise format for you.
Thank you. I think it feels so right. So everything's working, and I love it so much. So I just want to ask you one last thing. First of all, tell us about your book, and then tell us where we can find you, how we can pre-order your book, and all of that stuff.
Okay, so I have a book right now coming out called Your Life in Color, How to Empower Your Soul Through the Energy of Color. And basically, I use 10 core colors to help you explore different parts of your personality. You'll work with orange, like we talked about, with balance and perception. You'll work with purple to see the inner leader in you, your emotions, your business side. But it's not just a spiritual practice. It also teaches you to use color in your life. You know, I did a national talk show a few weeks ago and I was a nervous wreck. It was the first show that I had to do for the book. And, you know, when you come on as a psychic and you're on a traditional show, I've been challenged before. And I wanted to look cute at the same time. It wasn't just about like Om Shanti. I mean, I wanted to look cute. So I wore pink because pink is the color of perfection and unconditional love. And I can't say on set, and I can't say on set, like, I need my crystals and I need to meditate, because they'll be like, you're nuts. Like, we don't have time for that. But I can look down at my jacket and see that pink energy to remind myself of what I'm creating. So Your Life in Color is about style, interior design, meditation, utilizing color to really enrich and change your life. And it's a playful process. I want to heal through joy. I've done all the shadow work. I've done the pain. This is about being fun and playful with energy.
Oh my gosh, people are going to love that, because color is something everyone can relate to. Color is something in our lives. If we can learn how to use color for our advantage or to uplift us, it's like your book is natural healing for people.
Right.
It will be incredible. I'm so excited. And can you tell us how we can find you?
Sure. You can find me at dougallfraser.com, which is DOUGALLFRASER.com, or you can go to yourlifeincolor.com to purchase the book. I also have a Hay House radio show every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., which is super fun. You have to come on, which is super fun at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I do live calls and I have guests, and it's just a fun place to talk about energy.
Amazing. Dougall, I want to thank you so much for sharing this time with us. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for your book, and I can't wait to do this again. It was so fun.
Me too. This was really fun.
Yay.
Thanks, Candace.
Thank you.